Y'all, welcome back to the DG Outdoors channel. Today's video, we're going to talk about gun scopes. Not necessarily air gun scopes, although I have some scopes that came with some air gun packages we're going to talk about, and scopes that I've bought to switch out and use on my air guns that aren't necessarily an air gun scope. Okay, so let's get into it. I've done some drawings of reticles so you guys can kind of tell what the reticles look like, and just some different things and why I switched them out. And I use them on my air guns because that's what I have here with me. I've got two air guns here. And so let's start out with the basic scope. You guys, if they don't come with the multi-pump air gun that you've bought, then you can pick one up at Walmart for like $7. And that is just the basic Tasco 4x15 millimeter scope. Okay. Very, very simple. Non-adjustable. They are made for like low-powered air guns and 22 caliber rifles. Okay, and it even says it on the owner manual. It comes with these loop style scope rings, which if you break, really, really hard to get off and replace, especially back here without having to take the whole entire scope off. I know that. I've got bits and pieces of these at home, and I tried to salvage a bunch of them. But y'all, here in the center, you know, that's just what, you know, your normal crosshair is going to look like here in the center. Just, you know, fixed power, little tiny scope. These are good for beginners if you just want a really cheap scope to throw on your kid's gun or whatever. I've used these on 22 rifles. The thing is, they're really, really small. The scope is really, really small, you know, so it's going to give you a small scope picture. There is no adjustability on these, no eye relief, no power adjustments for zooming in on the target, anything like that. The upgrade to this, okay, is the Tasco 3x7x20 millimeter rimfire scope. Again, 22 caliber rifles and air rifles. Okay, a little bit different. Okay, we just bought this from MA98's 760 Pump Master pellet gun, BB gun. She wanted a different scope, but I didn't want to get her like a 4x32 that was going to put a lot of weight on that gun. The advantage of this, it has a bigger end to the scope, okay, which is going to let more light in there, more magnification. It does have a power adjustability on there. This is already on her gun, so I didn't want to get it out. Okay. It's got a 30-30 reticle on there, as you guys can see right here. Okay, like a lot of my guns do. It's got a thick outer line and then a thin inner line. Another good quality scope. You pick them up for $17 at Walmart because that's what we paid for this thing. And it just gives you a little more advantage on that game. And I actually kind of like this scope. Again, it's got the O-rings that don't really come off, so you can't really switch this scope to another set of O-rings very well. And, you know, that's pretty much all I know on this scope. Is it's just a little bit bigger and it you know, a little bit better sight picture for you, which is why we got it for her gun. And she can kind of zoom around and play with it. A nice upgrade to her 760 Pump Master Pink air rifle. Okay, now, when you guys get into break barrels, you know, air rifles, 90% of them are going to come with a 4x32 fixed powered scope. Okay, now this is the center point scope that came on the Crosman F4. Okay, the scope rings are really, really nice. Okay, you can take these off and switch them out with another scope if you needed to. Use the Allen wrenches to adjust these. 11 millimeter dovetail mounts. Okay. One thing I didn't talk about on the turrets of those, they're just little penny turrets, or you have to use a screwdriver to adjust them. Same with these. These are what these look like. You know, you got to have a screwdriver in there to adjust them. Your standard windage and elevation knobs for the scope. Okay. A lot of people will take this center point scope that comes with your normal break barrel, take it out and say they're trash. I actually like this, and I used it in my last, my new shooting new air rifles video. It just needed to be sighted in, but I kind of wanted to upgrade it, which we'll get into what scope I upgraded it with. But this is just your standard fixed power 4x32. That's what the reticles look like. Thick on the outside, thin on the inside, okay? And there is no eye relief adjustment right here, so your crosshairs become real thin. There's no way to zoom in or out on this thing. But I wouldn't knock the scope. Now, on the Ruger Airhawk Elite 2, which is behind me, that came with the Ruger brand scope when I bought it. And I couldn't get that thing to sight in at all. And I had trouble looking through it, so I sold it to somebody, you know, that could use it, you know, on his gun that really needed one. Things like that. So, you know, that's your standard scope. And a 4x32 power, fixed power scope is normally as big as I like to go. I've had a 3x9x40 NC Star scope from Amazon, and I thought that scope was good, but the picture was really, really blurry. Okay, and I don't know why, and I talked about that in an old video that I did over a year ago. But, I mean, this still isn't a really bad scope if this is all you have. Okay, a lot of my scopes on my guns are 4x32 fixed power scope. Now, this is one that actually came on an air gun. Okay, now, I had the Benjamin Prowler 22 air rifle. Doesn't have any sights on it. So I went with a BSA 22 special rimfire scope, which has this reticle right here on there. Okay, this is a really nice scope, and the reason that I put this scope on that gun is because it is made for a 22 caliber rifle. And in my opinion, you know, people talk about springers or nitro pistons damaging scopes. So I didn't want to go with a air gun branded scope that you find on Amazon that's going to be trash, because it's not really an air gun scope and it's just a gimmick. And I went with something that's actually made for a 22 caliber rifle. BSA Scope. Great, again, fixed power. I really, really like this scope. The glass is super clear in there. I don't know if you guys will even be able to see in there at all. Yep, right there, boys. It's not very straight, but the glass is super duper clear in there. Okay, there you go. The glass is super duper clear. Never had an issue with this scope. I think I spent $30 on it, or maybe $26 on it on academysports.com, I think. Or I picked this up at Walmart for $24. I can't exactly remember, but I think I got this at Academy. Great scope, great to put on an air rifle. I don't think it came with these scope rings. I bought these at Walmart for like $7. But the one thing I really do like about these, you guys see how the scope ring adjusting things on here are a knob? I really, really like that compared to these right here, which you have to use a screwdriver for, or this right here, which you have to use an Allen wrench for. See, if I'm out in the field and my scope comes loose, I have to bring an Allen wrench with me, or I have to bring a screwdriver with me to loosen those up. These I can just turn by hand and lock them down really, really tight. Now they can take a little flathead screwdriver right there, y'all. But that is an advantage to this scope and some of the scope rings you guys should look at. If you guys buy a scope, maybe check out these kinds of scope rings. 11 millimeter dovetail scope rings on this thing, and this scope is awesome. In here, though, okay, these do have the screwdriver or the penny lock turn turrets in there, which isn't a disadvantage, but we're going to get into some scopes that actually have what I call finger turrets on there to adjust your windage and your up and down and your windage and stuff like that. Okay. Now, here is the Trugo Buckline 4x32 scope. Okay, you guys, this thing is awesome. Okay, one of the features I like about it, again, I'm trying not to hit the muzzle of the gun. It's got these finger tabs on there. This comes with scope rings that go on a Weaver rail system like this, so they're wider than your 11 millimeter. A lot of your AR-15s have this. It is a tactical style mount, which you can replace if you have a 11 millimeter mount. But one thing about this scope, and I don't remember if this has them or not. We'll eventually get to one that does. In here. Nope. Still got the penny one. But this thing is awesome. I've got it dialed in at 10 or 15 yards for hunting squirrels. But it kind of sits up a little bit. It's got the, I think, the medium rise scope rings, okay? So it doesn't sit as close to the gun. That's what I like about a 4x32 scope, is normally it's going to sit real low to the gun. Kind of like this one's going to sit a lot lower to the gun when you put it on here. Alright? But this is a really, really nice scope I have. And I actually bought this for a shotgun. And then when I didn't have the extra mounts, I was like, you know what, even though it has open sights on it, I'm going to put it on here anyways. So that's what I did. Okay. Fixed power again. No way to adjust it. So, you know, what you get, you sighted in for 20 yards, it's going to be good at 20 yards. If you got to shoot farther out, you aim higher, closer, you aim lower. I'm trying not to make this video very, 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 very long. Okay. The next scope that we have, which I just did a review on yesterday, which is the most expensive scope I've ever bought, is the BSA 3x9x32. Again, I really like the 32, size scope. And guys, sorry about that. My phone decided to say, hey man, you're running out of space. So I had to delete all the pictures on my phone just to finish out this video. So I'm going to hurry it up. Alright. So one thing about the scope I like here, when I talk about fingerless adjustment knobs, is this right here. Okay, you guys see that little notch right there? You guys can actually turn this. Okay, and you don't need a screwdriver or anything. So you can actually adjust it in the field if you need to. This does have light up reticles, okay, so it makes the crosshairs light up red or green, which is really, really nice. This is a $52 scope. It's definitely an upgrade and the most expensive scope I've ever bought, especially to put on an air gun, but I was like, oh, heck, why not? So, I already did a full review on this scope, so if you guys want to see it, check out that. And I did a testing for if an animal can see the lighted reticles at night. I just filmed that last night. Okay, so this actually does have ways to zoom in, okay, on your target. It's got adjustability on it. It does have eye relief, which we'll talk about on the next scope here, because that one's got the flip up scope covers on there. Okay, so when you guys are actually looking through that scope, this is what you guys are going to see right here. It's got a full crosshair with little dots, and those are called mil dots. So you sight it in on the center there, and then if you need to shoot farther distances, you move down each dot, and there's a measurement for it. And right now I can't really remember what each mil dot is at 100 yards, but I'm also trying not to run out of space on my phone here. Last but not least, the last scope that I have, I bought to throw on the Chinese B3-1, but it came with, it's called a AIM Sports Compact 4x32 Tactical Scope for a 223. Okay, it's made for like an AR-15 style thing. It does have the Weaver rail scope rings on here, so they will not fit on 11 millimeter. So like your standard 22 won't fit. You're gonna have to get the 11 millimeter mounts for these. They do come with, okay, little finger turrets on them like that, which are really, really nice here. But this is called a range finding scope, okay, and I'm going to show you guys the picture that I drew up on here. It does have an adjustability piece right here, which this is actually for So you'll say plus or minus 0. When you turn this, it's for you to be able to see the crosshairs crystal clear. Not necessarily the target, but the crosshairs. So you can pinpoint that wherever you need to aim on that target and shoot. And people get confused about that, thinking that it's made for making the target clear, and it's not. It's actually made for making the crosshairs clear. When I say this is a range finding scope, and part of the reason why I wanted to draw the reticles is because this is a rough representation of what it looks like inside that scope, okay? It's fixed power, 4x32 again. I like it, but a lot smaller than the other 4x32 scopes that I have, okay? About, a lot smaller. But inside it has your standard crosshairs with mil dots, and then underneath it, it has this thing right here. And I bought this just as a, hey, what the heck, I'll try this out scope. I haven't been able to use it yet, but I have no idea what any of this stuff for is down here. It's just a lot of stuff inside that scope, which a lot of times if you type in airgun scopes online, that's exactly what's going to happen, okay? It's going to bring up a scope that's got a lot of extra junk on it, lasers, flashlights, all kinds of stuff. Let me tell you, you guys don't need all that extra junk. You need a way to pinpoint that target and shoot efficiently, okay, and get the best clear picture that you can. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rushing this video because I do not know how much more time I have on my phone, but I believe I'm going to put this on the Chinese B3-1 just a throw-around gun and try it out. But I tried to look up videos on how to use one of these scopes on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. And it didn't really give me any information, so I'm still in the dark, and the instructions really didn't help me on how to use it. And I paid $33 for it on eBay. Do I recommend the scope? Probably not. It's a pretty cool scope if you want to use it as a toy or if you're actually shooting a 223, but I really couldn't figure out why I bought this thing. I just thought it looked cool. They have one that's got the illuminated reticles to make the crosshairs light up and a whole bunch of other fancy junk. Y'all don't need that. So, really, I believe you'd sight it in right there in the center, and then you have your mil dots, and then I don't even know what all this extra stuff is for down here. Someone can tell me, that'd be cool. But y'all, this is just a video on scopes that I have. Sorry it got cut off. Remember, I hope this helps somebody. It's a long video, not normally make videos this long, but like, comment, subscribe. Jesus loves you. Leave comments, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.